committee. It's represented by 3 people from the school, 3 people from FinCom, 3 people from the town. Anthony as chair Anthony as the selectman is going to run the meeting. In a couple of weeks or a week, we have to determine as a committee after we hear all the presentations when we're going to get back together again. Because today, all we're doing is hearing presentations, ask whatever questions you need answered, and then we will then identify a date in the future as to when we will get together for a meeting. And in that period of time, you would do your due diligence, meet with the respective department head, look at whatever it is, and we'll get back together and vote. So with that said, I'm going to turn over to Anthony.
Thank you, David. So as David said, over the next couple of weeks, if you have any questions or want to see anything in person, reach out to the department head and individually schedule some time. And then at the end of this, we'll talk a little more about process and but so Chris, I believe you're up first. If you want to run through your item.
Certainly. Can you hear me? You can hear me all right?
No.
Yeah, that's about as loud as I can get it. We worked on it today.
Is it just me that I can't hear him?
It's faint, Jan, but
Okay.
I'll talk louder. How's that?
Yeah. Talk as loud as you can.
We worked on it quite a bit today, and that's about all we can do at this point. I'm going to have Ed look at it. So we have 3 items. We have the Kubota tractor, which we had on there last year at $18,685. We have a F-250 pickup with plow to replace an F-150 pickup that needs a lot of repairs. And we have the cold storage. Do you want to ask questions on any of them, or you want me to just explain them?
could you just start by explaining them, Chris?
Certainly. The Kubota tractor, like I said, is replacing a 10 to 12-year-old machine that has considerable amount of work needs to be done on it. We had it on capital last year. We took it off due to COVID. This is one of 3 machines that we take care of the whole town with. So it is a vital piece of equipment that if we have 1 or 2 of these go down during the summer, it can make an awful mess for us. Any questions on that?
So the one that you have now, Chris, is just needs a lot of repairs or doesn't work, or what's the shape?
Yeah, it's over 10 years old. It's leaking a lot of fluids. It needs engine work. It needs sealers. We feel that it's probably going to be in the $5,000–6,000 range. We would keep it as a backup, but you know, they only last so long, and there's a lot of wear and tear on the oldest one that we have. So again, those 3 machines are going almost all day. Once the grass starts growing for fields and YAA and actually everything that we mow in the town. So to get caught with one of those down mid-season is not a good thing.
And can you talk to us a little bit about the building?
Okay, the next item though is the 250 pickup. Did you want anything on that?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, the 250, the F-250. We have an F-150, which is a 2010 that's in pretty poor condition, rotted out. We had some prices put together on repairing the frame, which is rotted, and we got estimates total from right over here at Route 28 Collision of approximately 16 grand to fix it. Which still means it's an old vehicle with a lot of rot under it, okay? And so this way we're proposing an F-250 with a plow. State bid is at $41,690.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions?
not on the truck.
Okay. So then on the building, the cold storage building, if you remember 2 years ago, we asked at town meeting for 100.
Chris, I think you just muted yourself.
I'm sorry, is that better?
Yes.
Okay. So 2 years ago at town meeting, we asked for 105,000 for a cold storage metal building, 42 by 60. And that included about 7,800 for demolition of the old building. We went out to bid twice for this building, and you see the documentation is there. And both times it failed. The engineer tried a couple different approaches to take certain items out of the bid, and basically the bottom line was that the average price for the metal building 42 by 60 was 343,000. We also bid out at the time a pole barn building, which was a little bit cheaper at 280,000. So after speaking with the engineer, trying to understand what has happened here, why these prices went the way they did, the bottom line is they can only put it on supply and demand of the COVID and the cost of doing business right now. And they're running into this issue with small projects, I guess, all over the place. So I said to him, well, then the best thing we can do is to come up with a budget of what he realistically thinks we can get this building built for this year. And that's what you see there, the grand total of 483,724. And we have 105 on hand that we were able to get at town meeting 2 years ago. So we would need a balance, or we'd need to ask for a balance of 378,349. Okay, and there's really nothing else that I can do. I could downsize the building. We do need to demolish the one that's out there now. It's in horrible condition. So either way, we've got to get that out of there this spring. The building inspector wants it gone. Okay, it's pretty much held up by glue, and it's moving around in the wind. So we've got to get it down. This facility was going to give us an opportunity to get some of the congestion out of our building and put things in there, especially things we weren't using, seasonal things. So in the winter, we'd move our summer stuff in there and vice versa. That's about the best I can explain that. If you got any questions?
So Chris, how big is the building you have now?
The building now is approximately 40 by 40.
Are there any other questions for Chris? No, doesn't sound like it.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Chris. And individual members might be reaching out to you to schedule time to look at some of these items.
Sure. Okay.
All right. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Next up, we have the water department. I believe I saw Wayne join.
Yeah, I'm in here.
Hey, Wayne, how's it going?
Good.
If you want to just run through your requests, and then members of the committee will ask some questions, and then if needed, individual members might reach out to you to schedule time to come down in with you. But if you want to get started.
Yep. So the first one is a utility body. So last year we had an article to purchase a new truck to replace the van that got in an accident. When the accident occurred, the operators were actually saved from great harm by the cage that existed in between them and the tools that we carry behind it. The van that exists now that's left has a hydraulic unit in it, and it can't be fitted with a cage. So what we're planning to do is take my truck and pull the bed off and refit it with a utility body so that the operators are much safer. And I would use the van as my vehicle to get around in. I don't need the tools that are in it, so it wouldn't affect me in any way. So the quote is for 17,709, but I want a 10% contingency in there because I may have to put a camera. It depends upon how blind it is when they start using it. So I'm lifting it up by $10,000. I mean, 10% to 19,475. Also, the price is not guaranteed because we're bidding it out so far in advance. Last year, I had an article to refit Norman Ave with equipment, and by the time we got to actually doing it, the prices had changed so drastically, I didn't have the money to complete what was supposed to be done. So that's why you see the 10% lift.
So it feels like a lot of money to spend on an 8-year-old truck.
It has 30,000 miles on it. We don't drive around in circles. We go to a job, we do our jobs, and we go back to the shop. And I do a lot of paperwork now, so the vehicle does not have a lot of miles. It's only got 30,000. The van that it's going to replace has over 130,000 on it.
So you don't feel like we'd be putting money into a truck that's going to have to be replaced next year anyways, or?
No, not at 30,000 miles. If I was buying a used car, I'd be looking at it because it has such low mileage. And it's been well cared for. It has a plow on it, and I'm the only one that's plowed with it, and I just do the stations. It has not been beat on in any way.
Okay, so it's otherwise in good shape.
Oh, it's in great shape.
And
Thank
Wayne, what would you be doing? Are you going to use water surplus, or how would you propose paying for it?
So I got Rick to allow me to spend free cash, so it would be paid for out of free cash.
All right, so it's water surplus. Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions on that one? No? All right. So I can't see. Just want to make sure I talk about the right thing. All right. So water meters. So currently we have the 40B going in on Scotland Street. I believe it's somewhere between 84 and 87 houses. So we're going to have to buy a lot of meters to meet that when it comes. There's also another small subdivision going, looks like it's going to happen at the corner of South Elm and Lincoln. And that's probably about 6 houses. So we figure about 100 houses. So we're going to need about 100 meters. And I also have to replace a larger meter, which runs around $25,000 by itself. And we also need to start funding in advance for, I'm trying to get my date, but I believe in 2027, we'll begin remetering sections of the town to start so that the meters don't fail, that they're always operating in the future. So the idea is to start putting away money for that also.
So when somebody builds a new house, do they pay for the meter and you're buying them up front and then getting reimbursed, or how does that work?
Yes, no, they pay for the meter. It's part of their charges to tie into our system, but we can't access that money as it happens. It has to go into the account, and then we have to come, before the town.
Yep.
So, and this will be funded out of surplus also.
Okay, thank you.
So Wayne, you don't have this under FY 2022 in that first column. So all of these here, all 4 of these requests, are this for FY 2022?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions? All right. So if we haven't advertised it yet because the DEP really doesn't want us to talk a lot, but we've had the town tested for PFAS. We have PFAS in our water, but sitting in your house, if you've got any, you've got carpet that's stain resistant, or you put dryer sheets in, you've got more PFAS on you than we have in our water. However, the Manley Street wells, let me make sure. Yep. Iron removal. Yep. So the Manley Street wells came back high. So what they consider as a number is if it comes back with 10 is a number. So Manley Street is over 10. Under 10, they consider that okay and safe. When it goes above 20, then we have to send out letters. and notify the public with some highly inflammatory stuff that DEP requires us to do. Manley Street is tested at 19.8 coming out of the plant. So it's just under the threshold. At any time it could go over. And doing some reading on PFAS, what I've learned is the chains kind of hang on to the activated carbon and the green sand, and eventually they build up. So it will put it over the threshold. So Manley Street isn't set up to treat for PFAS at all right now. It's just set up to treat for iron and manganese, which it does very well, but not PFAS. So what we're looking for is to put away $50,000 for engineering support to see, so we can get some designs to refit the plant. And that will also come out of surplus.
So we're almost meeting that requirement or too much now. Is that water still safe to drink? Is that harmful or?
So it's not harmful. Like I said in the beginning, if you have Scotch Guard anywhere in your house, covered in PFAS. If I see a sweatshirt in the group, probably covered in PFAS. It's the chemicals aren't banned in any way, shape, or form right now. So it's still ongoing, and it's just gonna. I can't tell you if it's safe or not safe. DEP is mandated, once you get above 20, you have to notify the public. Under 20, they don't, but they want you to look at treating it so that it doesn't ever go above.
So we're not going to be able to treat it when it hits 20. We're just going to do a study on what it's going to take to treat it. Is that what the 50,000 is
No,
for?
this study is to refit the plant to treat for it.
Oh, okay.
We want to have it, and once you start treating for it, it comes out zero. It removes it all.
So
Okay.
Wayne, let me just make sure, I was in that meeting with Rick when we met with DEP. I was
Yep.
like, $50,000 you believe, will that be enough for what you're gonna need to do? And then two, once we determine from that study what we need for remedial action, that means you're gonna have to come back to town meeting to say, we need X to be able to treat for it and remove it.
That is correct. This is just engineering to get us moving. It's seed money so that they'll come in and look at our plant, and if we need to make major modifications, they'll know. But if it's just removing the media in the 3 filters and tying in the 4th filter and putting new media in, then they'll also tell us that, and then we'll go from there. But yes, we will be coming back for more money at some point. It's just for engineering currently.
Okay.
All right. Well,
So in the meantime, people could still drink the water if it hits the 20. You're just going to notify them?
yes, if it goes above 20, we'll notify them. I'm working on the consumer confidence report right now. I'm going to try to get it out early. I tested last year, so it'll be in this year's report. So the public will be notified when I put that out, and
Okay.
they'll see it. Some people have already asked some questions. The idea is just to be ahead of it.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, so the next one, engineering design plant. All right, it's on there twice. All right, so the 4th item, maybe I should spell check my own work. So the 4th item is engineering. So currently, everybody knows that there was some yellow water in town. The drought has changed the water quality of the wells. So we've taken 2 of the wells offline because they're very high in manganese now. We have another well that's high in iron, but it has no secondary limits on it, and it's not affecting the water quality. And we're about to we're replacing a current well, and there's no idea what will happen, how that water quality will be when we test it. So in order to keep all of our wells running and make the water better, we're asking for $50,000 for engineering work to design a new iron removal plant and PFAS for stations 1, 2, and 4. And we'll feed all 5 wells into that plant and treat it all, and then put it to the system. And that'll be paid for out of surplus also.
So this again is just to study it. It's not to actually fix it.
No, this will be a lot of money. So at some point we'll be coming back for money, more money to a town meeting. But it's to get the engineering work going. Because this happened so fast, there was no way to talk with engineering firms to see how far, and you're not gonna fund the whole thing in advance anyways until you find out what the actual costs are.
Okay.
All right. So I know that the next two aren't on there, but I have two more articles that are coming up. And it's basically, the first one is to take $87,700 from surplus and to pay down the principal on the tank painting loan. That's a short-term loan and it crippled us when it did hit our budget. And it, like I said, it's coming out of surplus and it's just to pay down our debt. Any questions on that one? All right, and then I have one more. It's for $57,500. This is also coming out of surplus, and it's to pay down the principal on the replacement well loan, the work that we're actually currently doing to replace a well. And once again, it's just paying down debt, and it's coming from surplus.
Wayne, what was the first number you just said that you got transfer?
All right, so the first one for the tank painting loan was $87,700.
Thank you.
So you have enough in surplus to do all of this?
This will, yes, there's enough in surplus to cover that, and that'll leave us $100,000, you know, plus or minus, but $100,000 in surplus currently. If we take any free cash in out of this current fiscal year, then it'll add to it, but it'll be close.
Are there any other questions for Wayne? No? All right. Thank you, Wayne. Appreciate it.
Thank you all and have a good day.
Thank you.
Next up, we have the police department. Tim Nixon.
Afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me?
Hello. Yep.
So the police department for this year, we're going to be putting in for 2 new cruisers to replace obviously high mileage cruisers. And essentially what we've done is we didn't buy any cruisers last fiscal year. If we back up a year, we were able to buy 2 holdovers. We actually, we were able to buy 2018 cruisers that we were able to store and use. The problem that we're going to have moving forward with this year, if anyone notices, there was an increase on the pricing. Much like everything else, when they updated their new cruiser line, effectively all our old cruisers starting this year, we can't cannibalize for pieces anymore like we had been. So unfortunately for this year, for FY22, we have Cruiser 222 that has about 127,000 miles on it. And then the supervisor car, the former supervisor car, although it's a newer vehicle, that gets used more frequently. So right now, both of these cruisers are well under that 100,000 mile limit. So again, if there's noticeable increases in what we've been paying in the past with what we're paying moving forward, it's because of the inability to take the old parts off the old cruisers and apply them to new purchases. Questions?
Tim, I assume that's just because the Explorer has a new body style to it?
Exactly, Dave. So essentially what happened, like everything, you get a new phone, they update it in 6 months. Ford had a great model going with the old Taurus. They took the Taurus offline. They introduced these new Explorers, and then they changed the body style. So up until 2018, all the body styles were the same. And to tell you what the significant differences were, I couldn't tell you. I just know it's now our cages don't fit, our racks don't fit for the rifle, the fittings for the light bars aren't the same. So unfortunately, this first go around, we're going to have to update to soup to nuts new accessories as well.
Yep, got it. Thanks.
I can't see the screen too well, but do we know what idea of how much more the cost will be per vehicle?
I don't have prior listings. I just know that when we were able to, use the old cruiser, we were able to save the town about $40,000 by retrofitting the old one.
Mhm.
That option's not. So each full set unit's right around 51,000 now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Go ahead. If I'm shouting, I don't mean to. I just don't trust
No.
my microphone.
You sound good. You sound good.
All right. Any other questions? No? All right. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Fire Department, Lincoln.
Microphone check, everybody hear me?
Yep.
All good.
All right,
Thank
great. So this year we're looking to replace our 2010, 2013 advanced life support ambulance. And the reason why I say 2010, 2013 is because the patient compartment of the existing ambulance is a 2010. It was married to a 2013 Ford chassis back in around 2012, 2013 area. It currently has 80,000 miles on it. Ever since the box was put onto the chassis, it has had suspension issues because the ambulance actually rides on air, 2 airbag systems when you drive with a patient in the back. Ever since then, it's had airbag issues where we spent an exact total of $16,556 to repair that. That is in the last 4 years. One of the forms says 3, it's actually 4. And it's also had some out of service time along those time frames, which means the ambulance is completely out of service in the station being repaired or waiting to be repaired. So to this day, we still have airbag issues. We still have leaky valves that have been replaced and are continuing to be looked at by, we so far have used 3 different companies in the last 4 years to look at the issues, going over the invoices for the ambulance. The air compressors have been replaced around 3 or 4 times at a substantial price. The other reason we'd like to replace it is because due to COVID, the ambulance time frame for ordering and receivement of that is around 12 months plus. So we put about 12,000 miles on the ambulance each year. And if you add that up, we'll be well over 90,000 miles on the frontline advanced life support ambulance for the town. We have 2 of them staffed at all times. We, depending on manpower and the calls that are going on at the same time. So both are ready to roll out the door at the same instance. There are some times where we use multiple ambulances on one motor vehicle crash, or if multiple EMS runs come in around the same time frame, we do roll them immediately out the door. The new ambulance is a 2022. As you can see right here, the base price is $316,501. The option to replace the old one is to either trade it in or sell it on a private entity, and depending on what would be more advantageous for the town. Both ambulances respond to about 1,300 runs per year, depending on which, obviously the one that's front line runs a little bit more than the one that's in the back, but they both total about 1,300 runs per year. The price point that you see right there, $312,401, is the lower price point for the 2 leading vendors in our area. One is Specialty Vehicles Incorporated. The other one is Greenwood Emergency Vehicles. Their baseline models for the same size ambulance, which mirrors our 2015 that we currently have, is 207,900 for SVI, which is, well, I have the proposal here, and it's 217 for the Greenwood emergency vehicle. So we went with the lower price point to spec out the vehicle. The patient compartment, which we feel is the most important part of the ambulance, where the patient is and the medic's working, is slightly larger. It's about 2 inches longer and about 2 inches taller. It will help accommodate some equipment and a little bit more headroom for the taller personnel in the back. And the biggest price increase for the newer ambulance is around $30,000 due to the state mandated power load system that was put in place in 2016. We have a 2015 ambulance that was purchased before that state mandate. So now we are mandated by the state to use power stretcher systems. The power stretcher is already purchased. We just have to use the operating budget to upgrade it. We can marry it to the new ambulance and the new power system for the back of the ambulance, which will secure the patient a little better. You can envision it. It looks like a track system right down the middle of the ambulance. The firefighter paramedics will go up to the ambulance with the person loaded on the ambulance cot. It will receive the ambulance cot, and all we have to do is press a button and it automatically loads the patient into the back of the ambulance. The proposal that we have for the new ambulance comes with a 5-year, 60,000-mile warranty. So we, at this time, we did not purchase or are looking to purchase the extended warranty. It has a 10-year, 100,000-mile electrical warranty for the system and a lifetime warranty on the module structural of where the chassis meets the patient compartment. And if we were able to receive a new ambulance, it would run first out for the foreseeable future. That means it's going to be the primary ambulance responding to every EMS, motor vehicle accident, and other calls that we have. And the total price is $345 with everything included.
So I'm sorry, how old did you say is the ambulance that's your primary now?
2010 for the patient box, and 2013 is the Ford chassis.
Okay, so that's the one you're replacing, but
Correct.
you have another one, right?
Correct.
How old's
Yeah.
the other one?
We're using that one in the back right now to get the mileage up on the other one. That is a 2015, and it has about 50,000 miles on it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. Are there any other questions for Lincoln? No? All right. Thank you, Lincoln. We
Thank you
appreciate
very much.
Thanks.
Mike White.
How you doing, everyone?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
Basically, I'm rerunning, I think this was from last year or the year before, trying to replace the residential window AC units that are throughout the town hall. We have several that actually aren't functioning anymore. And it looks like that the holes through the exterior wall of the building were specifically sized for those units, so I haven't been able to find replacement units to fit those holes, which is problematic. I'd have to do some extensive work to shrink the holes down inside and out to get another unit to work. So we're looking to try to get some of the mini split systems, which we have in maybe a third of the offices currently, which will be a lot more energy efficient and give us the capability to have some heat with the heat pumps that are added to these units. So in the fall and in the spring, we could actually rely on that, would be more energy efficient than firing up the big gas boilers and running the old forced hot water system. Yeah, I think I had some pictures of the residential through wall AC units that we're trying to update. So I had the cost of the equipment was $50,800. Then a $18,000 figure was to remove the old ACs, board up all the old residential sleeve mounts through the wall, and patch the drywall on the interior of the respective offices that the old units are in.
So are you going to have to do any electrical work to support this switchover?
Yes, that's included in the bid. So one other good benefit with these mini splits is they can have fewer, each one won't have a condenser. They can gang multiple heads onto one condenser. So there's not as much equipment needed.
So the cost of the electrical work is in the 50,000 or in the 18?
In the 50.
In the 50? Okay.
Okay, are there any other questions for Mike?
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, thank you, Mike. And next we have the school. Mark, are you taking this one?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. Our first item on the list is the replacement of a maintenance truck, and I believe this has been on for at least last year. The current maintenance truck is a 2007 Ford F-150 two-wheel drive. The interior of the cab is rotted and the fuse panel is corroded to the point where the electrical ground connection was lost, causing the truck to become completely disabled. The town mechanic was able to get the truck up and running, but warned the truck was very rotted. He estimated the body rot would cost about $18,000 to repair for a truck that's worth about $500. There's also structural rot on the frame of the truck. The truck is not adequate as currently as a maintenance vehicle. Like to keep this truck to move custodial equipment and supplies. The custodians are currently using their own personal vehicles to transport custodial supplies. When the current maintenance truck is tied up in use at one of the schools, the other maintenance employees use their own personal vehicles to respond to calls from the other schools. The truck that we have proposed, the quote, is a true maintenance vehicle. It'll be equipped with a snowplow, has four-wheel drive, and a utility body with locking toolboxes, allow for a more efficient use of snow removal and responding to maintenance emergencies and repairs district-wide.
So, can you help me understand? I thought the town did all the plowing at the schools. Why would you need a plow on this truck?
I think it'd be done in terms of sometimes right around the area of school. If there's areas that the town can't get to, I think it's a more efficient use. They are in early in the morning along with the town, working in conjunction with them. So having that available is just another resource that will hopefully get our kids back into school on the snowy days.
Okay, and the utility body is because you're going to keep tools in there?
Yes, when they respond to different schools.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And any other questions on the truck? All right. And in terms of the boiler repair, this is something that we continue to look at. Kathy Grant and I are continuing to see if there's ways that this can be funded through our existing budget. But I think it's important to bring up the concern that although the boilers at the middle senior high school only 7 years old, that there have been some ongoing issues with them. And we've had people in numerous times. And the boilers, they run in sequence. And if they're out of sequence, it does cause issues. A lot of that had to do with when they were installed at the beginning. And by the incorrect sequencing, it causes more demand on the other two boilers. We've had boiler technicians in, they've opened up the boiler, they found the heat exchange to be plugged. They cleaned the exchange, but they couldn't clean enough to get the heat exchange running efficiently. And the boiler was overheating and had to be taken offline. And the boiler company has recommended the heat exchange to be replaced as soon as possible. So again, it's concerning that we're not that many years into the building, but we want to try to extend the life of these boilers through repairs. And again, we're looking to do that on our own, but I think it's just important to note that it's something that maybe something that exceeds what we can budget for moving forward.
What kind of boilers are these?
I believe Camus boilers.
Camus?
Camus is the name. Yeah, they're. I think they've had issues with these as part of the design process, and other area schools have had other issues where they've had to replace these sooner than even the 6 to 7 years that we're using them.
Mm. So if we replace the heat exchanger, are we going to end up having to replace the boilers? And then is this, I don't want to throw money away.
I agree. And I think that the goal is to get it 6 to 8 years out of this existing boiler if the repair is done properly rather than replacing it for more money.
40,000 to replace.
Yeah.
We quoted that as well.
40,000? Okay.
To replace.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What would just cleaning it get you?
The cleanest would get this back operational, so it could be part of the sequence of the 3 different boilers. From my understanding, that the boilers work in sequence of one another, and so they're not putting 100% of their efforts into the heating at one time. So that I think it takes more pressure off the other 2.
But you're saying just cleaning it's not really going to solve the problem, or it will?
It
You
needs
have to
to,
replace this heat exchanger?
the heat exchange is what needs to be replaced, and I think that's the bulk of the expense.
Okay.
Mark, do you know, if you do this work, does a warranty come with it? And do you know what the original warranty was on the boiler?
So I know a little bit about the warranty aspect. I'm not sure about what warranty is included with it changing the heat exchange. However, the boiler had just 1 year left of warranty when we moved into the school. That was put online immediately when it was installed. And so that is a problem that Julie, our director of maintenance, brought up to me. We had very little time with the boilers as well as several other aspects of the school when we actually had students finally in the building. And East Bridgewater also built a new school. This Camas boiler was highly recommended by the state and on the state bid list. Their boiler one of their boilers completely failed in the first year of operation. So it's extremely disappointing to everybody. You know, and we did get quotes because we said is 17,000 is a lot to put into a boiler. Should we be looking to get a new one? That's 40,000. Julie has finally found a really good company and the really good maintenance people in that company on the operational side, and they did not recommend replacing it. They said that replacing the entire boiler right now is overkill, that by replacing the heat exchange, it will properly allow all 3 boilers to go back online and share the load.
All right. Are there any other questions? Nope. All right. Thank you. All right. So that is all for the presentations. Over the next couple weeks, if anyone wants to meet with department heads individually to look at equipment or anything, just schedule time with them on your own. Do we have another meeting date, Linda or David?
So at this point, we don't. However, based on the selectmen's schedule and our other budget schedules, if at all possible, it would be good if we're gonna meet on a Wednesday, if we could do this in 2 weeks versus 1 week. So that would put us on the 24th. I don't know how that works for people.
At what time?
Same time?
I mean, this time, Jan, do you need a different time than this time?
I can do 3 to 4. If we can get it done between 3 and 4, that would work.
Yeah, the second meeting, I mean, obviously we all discuss it, but we vote, and I could tell you historically, not even a half an hour.
Okay, then that would work.
Of course, if you want to talk to each other, we can make it longer, but not.
Yeah, no, that works for me too. Not sure about the others, but works for me.
Hi, this is directed toward either David or Anthony. I know last year when we discussed the voting aspects of these items, we also had some guidance as to how much free cash may be available for capital. I know that last year we had about $2 million of free cash, and we were using a significant portion to pay down debt, another piece for sidewalks. So, you know, and I think we ended up using maybe about 332 to 400,000 for the capital expenditures. So do you have any guidance or numbers now that will help us with our decisions and thoughts?
David, can you answer that? I mean, we have some bigger ticket items. If we want to go with those, if we want to fund both of them, I'm guessing we'll need some debt. It might not be a cash only year. I don't know. David, do you have a better answer than that?
Yeah, I would say if we want to use free cash, we could have somewhere between $500,000 to $600,000 to spend.
There's a
And that
lot.
is inclusive of other things like sidewalks that we already have $100,000 voted on, and
Correct. So we had $1.1 million of free cash certified. We take $350,000 every year to pay down debt on the middle school, high school, and then $100,000 for sidewalks. That's $450,000. So that leaves us somewhere around close to $600,000. Again, I'm ballparking it, but it's about that.
And there's a lot of requests here.
yes.
I also wanted to say borrowing right now is a good time to borrow, where it's about the interest rates are about as low as they're going to be. You never know what the market will do in the future, but it's hard to see it getting much lower than this. We just borrowed at 0.34%. So keep that in mind.
Yeah. If is that a fixed rate if we borrow, or does that fluctuate? I can't remember.
Depends on how we borrow it. If we go long term, all the APRs would be set out in advance. If we did short term, it'd be year to year, and we'd just
Okay.
be susceptible to that.
Okay, thank you.
Scott, with the example of an ambulance, what do you think that rate would be with that? Would we be able to get that at that low of a rate?
It would depend if we bonded it. The bond rates right now are what is lower. I don't know what the immediately know what the years are on the ambulance, so that affects it. And then it'd be the more money we borrow, generally, the lower the rate is.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Scott. Does anyone have any other questions or anything before we adjourn?
The only, no, I don't. I'm good right now. Thanks.
The only question I wish I asked Chris was if he planted any money trees. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Is there someone that could make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Take care, everyone.
Thank
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.